offers many scholarships for many, many American students to spend their year after high school in Eretz Yisrael. Moshe teaches in many seminaries and yeshivas for post-Eretz Yisrael post-high school students. And we are privileged to experience a little bit of his life's work. Thank you.
Imagine you're living just before the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash temple, and a lot of things are going on around to try to stop the tragedy, to try to make sure that this doesn't happen, that the temple is not destroyed. Some people are working on the political scene to try to get the Romans to give in and not destroy the temple. Some think that, no, we should revolt militarily, we should fight the Romans. Others think the only thing to do is religious observance, to daven and to improve our ways in order to convince God, so to say, to stop the destruction. But then there's another category of people who are just going on with their lives as if nothing is happening. Now, I'm sure that all of us have our own opinion. What's the best way to go about it? Should we fight? Should we try politically? Should we just daven? But I think everyone here would agree that the group who is doing nothing, who is just going on with their lives as if nothing is happening, that's unacceptable. That's the only group that for sure is unacceptable. How could it be that the temple is being destroyed? The Romans already broke through the gates of Jerusalem and they're about to destroy the temple, and you're just going on with your life as if nothing is happening. The problem is that those people are us. Because there's a very famous Gemara in Yerushalmi, it's the first source, where the Yerushalmi says, look at just the last line of source number 1, Kol dor she'eno nivneh biyamav, any generation in which the temple is not rebuilt in its days, ma'alin alav ki'ilu hu hichrivo. God considers it as if that generation destroyed the temple. See, we all say to ourselves, we don't have a Beis HaMikdash, so it's not our fault. It's our ancestors' fault that the temple was destroyed. No, says the Yerushalmi that it's our fault. If we leave this world and there is no temple, by the end of our lives, that means we have destroyed the temple. So just like in the example I gave, everyone has to be doing something. You can't just sit back and act as if nothing's happening. So that's the way we have to look at it. We have to look at things as if the temple is about to be destroyed. Because if we leave this world without a temple, we have destroyed it. That Yerushalmi, by the way, also at the beginning of the Yerushalmi, tells us why the temple was destroyed. Why was the second temple destroyed? So we all know there's a famous Gemara in the Bavli that says it's because of Sinat Chinam. The first temple was destroyed because of the 3 big sins, Gilu Arayot, Sheichut Damim, Ve'avodah Zarah. And the second temple was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam, to teach us that Sinat Chinam, hating your fellow Jew, is tantamount to the 3 cardinal sins. But the Yerushalmi adds something very important, which I think is also something that we have to think about. If you look at the first underline, Ela shehayu ohavin et hamamon visonin elu le'elu sinat chinam. The Yerushalmi adds that besides hating each other, they loved their money. Their whole lives were about money. And that caused the destruction of the temple. And we're going to discuss soon what we could do to fix the situation and hopefully bring back the temple and Mashiach. But one thing's for sure, if Chazal tell us that there's a cause, and that's why it was destroyed, so we know that the way to fix it is to fix that cause. And therefore, of course, the Sinat Chinam, we cannot accept. We cannot go on with hating our fellow Jews as if they're from a different planet, as if we have nothing in common with them. But also we have to tame down our love of money This is something, for me coming from Israel, I've only been here 2 days so far, but it really stands out. Every kosher Dunkin' Donut and all these things. It's all about the Gashmiut, and we really have to try to think about what's really important in life. And as I said, we can't just go on with our lives as if nothing's happening. We have to realize that the temple is being destroyed, and we have to do something about it. So, what can we do about it? But before we get to that, because that's really the main part of the shiur, we really first have to talk about why is it so important? Why do we need a temple? Why do we need Mashiach? Why do we always think about it and talk about it and daven for it? What are we looking forward to? What is it about the times of Mashiach that we want so badly?
Peace.
Peace. Okay. I'm sure. I'll go back for one important point. People think it's going to be everything's going to be perfect, right? If you said peace, world peace, everything's going to be perfect. You also have to remember that it's going to be a very difficult transition. Their life will be much different than the way it is today, right? Tuma and Tara, right? You're not going to be able to just, live your life as you want. Things are going to be so much different. And I'm sure it's going to be difficult for a lot of people. Sacrificing animals, that's going to take time to get used to. All of these things, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be so easy. So why do we really want Mashiach so badly? So there's really two major approaches. One is the Rambam and one is the Misivah Yesharim. So look at the second source. The Rambam writes, "Umipnei zeh nit'avu kol Yisrael." This is in Hilchot Tshuva. "Nevi'em v'chachamehem liyamot HaMashiach." This is why all the Jewish people, especially the Nevi'im and the Chachamim, wanted Yamot HaMashiach. Kedei sheyanuchu mimalchuyot, so that we will rest from the kings, from the foreign powers that control us. She'einan menichot lahen la'asot b'torah v'mitzvot. They don't allow us, they don't let us do what we're really supposed to do, which is be osek b'torah u'b'mitzvot, be involved in learning and in mitzvah observance, kahogen, properly. V'yimtzeu lahem margoa, and therefore at the time of Mashiach there will be margoa, there will be peace and tranquility. V'yirbu b'chokhmah, but it's not just for the sake of peace, it's for the sake of what that's going to cause. There's going to be more chokhmah, more wisdom. Kedei sheyizku l'chayei olam haba. The ultimate goal is chayei olam haba. Right? This world is all just a corridor in order to get into the main world, which is olam haba. And the only way to get into olam haba is by Torah and mitzvot. But if we're living in a society, we're living in a time in which the powers don't allow us to learn Torah and do the mitzvot, so then that means we're going to get less olam haba. That's why the Nevi'im and the Chachamim wanted so badly for us to have Mashiach, so that we'll be able to do what we're supposed to do, which is Torah and mitzvot, and then, therefore, get to the ultimate goal, which is olam haba. And if you skip to the next underline, Mipnei Shoto HaMelech She'amod Mizera David Bal Chochma Yiyeh Yoter Mishlomo. You have to understand that Mashiach is going to be the most unbelievable human being ever. He's going to be wiser than Shlomo HaMelech. V'navi gadol hu karov l'Moshe Rabbeinu. And he's going to be a Navi almost as great as Moshe. Can't be greater than Moshe, but in terms of Nevuah, but he will be close to Moshe Rabbeinu. Can you imagine a person like that? Can you imagine someone who's as wise as Shlomo and a Navi almost like Moshe Rabbeinu? He's going to have all the answers to all the world's problems. But again, it's all going to be laharbot b'chachma, so that there will be more wisdom in the world and more ability to sit and learn and do mitzvot and to know what's right and what's wrong in order to get into olam haba. The Rambam also repeats this in the third source in Hilchot Malachim, and he goes a little bit more in detail. He says, "Lo nitavu chachamim." In the first one, he says, why did they want Mashiach to come? And here he precedes it, he prefaces it with why, for sure, this is not the reason. Lo nitavu chachamim v'nevi'im yemot HaMashiach lo kedei sheyishletu al kol olam. Not that we can rule over the whole world, which might be true. We will rule over the world, but that's not why they wanted it. V'lo kedei sheyirdu ba'akum, and not so that we could beat up on the goyim. That's also not why. And not so that the nations will exalt us and look up to us and say, wow, those Jews are amazing. And not to eat, drink, and be merry. That's not what Yemot HaMashiach is all about. As we said, there won't be people who will stop us from doing Torah mitzvot. That's the whole point. According to the Rambam, we should want Mashiach so that we could get to Olam Haba. That's really the main point. But to a certain degree, that's very selfish. It's selfish in a good way, in a spiritual way, that we should be closer to Hashem and get more reward. But the Ramchal in Mesilat Yesharim, Rabbi Moshe Lichtman, right? The Ramchal in Mesilat Yesharim takes a totally different approach. Why it is that we should want Mashiach to come so badly. If you look at source number 4, V'hinei hachasid kazeh, you know how Mesilat Yesharim works, right? I actually wrote for one of my son's bar mitzvah, I wrote a summary of Mesilat Yesharim. I didn't bring any here, but Mesilat Yesharim is a very, very special sefer, and it's a very well-organized sefer. It goes from levels of Kedusha, right? Levels of holiness. It starts off with just Zihirut and Zirizut, etc., and gets to Chassidut is one of the highest levels, to be a Chassid. And that doesn't mean with payas and a black hat. It means a true Chassid, a pious person. And he says that such a Chassid, milvad ha'avodah shehu oved b'maaseh mitzvotav al kavanah hazo. Besides the fact that all of his mitzvot are done for this purpose, as he explained before, hine vadai, I'm on the other line in source number 4, vadai tzarich sheyitzta'er tamid, a real Chassid should constantly be in pain, tsar mamash, real pain, al hagalut, because of the exile and because of the destruction of the temple. Why? Mitzad ma shezeh goreim miut kivyachol lichvodo yitbarach. Because it causes a diminishing in God's glory. Don't think about it just for yourself. We want Mashiach because certainly not so we can eat, drink, and be merry. That's for sure. But even not so that we could be zocha to get Olam Haba. What about thinking of God's kavod? It's all for God. We want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be recognized by the entire world as who He truly is. The greatest being in the world, the one who created us all. V'yit'aveh l'geula, and such a Chassid should desire the geula, lefi sheba yihye ilui lichvod Hashem yitbarach. Only then, only at the time of Geulah, will there be proper glory for Hashem. All right, and he brings a whole source. Look to the next underline. Next underline we'll get to later on. But look at the very last underline in that source. Sheharei I efshar. It is impossible. Lichvod ha'elyon, for God's glory. Lihit rabot, to be great, to be multiplied. Ela bigulatan shel Yisrael. God's glory will be exalted when the Jewish people are redeemed. If we're in Galut, we are a reflection of God. Because everyone knows that we are the children of God. When we're high up in society, when we're looked up to, meaning when we're redeemed, so that everyone says, wow, look at that nation, look at that God, unbelievable. But when we are downtrodden, and persecuted, so everybody thinks, oh, obviously God's not so great. Look at his people. Look where they are. Obviously that means that God's not so powerful. He's not really capable of doing whatever he wants. And therefore the only true time that there'll be an increase in God's glory is when we are redeemed. Uberibui kvodam. And when our kavod, when the Jewish people's kavod, glory is exalted, that's when God's glory will be exalted. Shezeh talui bezeh be'emet. One depends on the other. Therefore, the Ramchal says you should want Mashiach to come, not for your own sake, but for God's sake. So either way we look at it, there's no question that the Jewish people, our tradition is that Geulah is something we look forward to. It's something that we want. And therefore, we have to ask ourselves, so that we're not like that category of people who just sits around and goes around about their business as if nothing is happening. What can we do to bring Mashiach? What can we do to make sure that by the time we leave this world, there will be a temple, there will be a Beit HaMikdash standing in its place? So, there's actually a sefer I have here, Tzipita Yeshua by Rabbi Yoel Schwartz. If you know Rabbi Yoel Schwartz, he's a prolific writer in Eretz Yisrael. If you've ever been, Kikar Shabbat, Mea Shader there, there's this tiny little store for women's hats and head coverings called Srigat Yoel. Okay, that is his wife, and she sells two things in that store. She sells hats and head coverings, and she sells her husband's books. That's really the only place you can get it. He has written close to 200 books, these size, small books. He's a prolific. He's the one who started Nachal Haredi. He's the one who pushed that there should be a program for those boys who are not going to be sitting and learning all day to go into the army. He's a very special person. So anyway, he has a whole book on this, and he has a list of many, many things that Chazal say can bring the Mashiach. And we're not going to have time, of course, to talk about all of them, but I want to really focus on three. Okay? First of all, as you see at the bottom of the first page, Shuvah, which really goes without saying. There's a Gemara that's not on your sheets, but there's a Gemara that brings a stira, that brings a contradiction between two words. So actually the last words in Sefer Yeshayahu, Bi'ita achishana. Ani Hashem bi'ita achishana. I, God, in its time I will hasten it, meaning the coming of Mashiach, the Geula. So the Gemara itself in Sanhedrin asks, what does that mean? That's self-contradictory. Bi'ita, in its time, I will hasten it. If it's in its time, then it's not hastened. And if it's hastened, then it's not in its time. So which one is it? So the Gemara says, Zachu achishana. If the Jewish people deserve it, I will bring it quicker. Lo zachu bi'ita. If they're not zocha, that doesn't mean the Mashiach will never come. Mashiach will come, just like the Jews were freed from Egypt, even though they didn't deserve it. They were on the 49th level of Tumah. Nonetheless, the redemption came. Moshe Rabbeinu redeemed them because God had made a promise to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov that there will be a redemption. So too, there will be a redemption, no matter what level we're on. Obviously, it'll be much more pleasant and much more easy if we do it the right way, which is through tshuva. Then it'll be the achishana. But even if not, there will still be a geula. So it's obvious that if we do tshuva, Mashiach will come. But there's a much more telling story that brings this out. At the bottom of the page, I won't read the whole Gemara, but it's a very interesting Gemara. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi one day bumped into Eliyahu Hanavi. I mean, that happens in the Gemara. Just happened to bump into Eliyahu Hanavi. And amongst other things, he asked him, tell me, when is Mashiach coming? So Eliyahu gave him a very surprising answer. He said, what are you asking me for? Go ask Mashiach. I'm not Mashiach. Go ask Mashiach. He said, really? I could do that? I could ask Mashiach? He said, okay. Tell me where he is and how do I find him? And that's the interesting part of the Gemara, exactly how he describes where Mashiach is. What is he doing? How is he going to recognize which one of the many people around there is Mashiach? That's a shir in of itself. But he finally gets to the gates of Rome, which is where Mashiach is, and he finds him. And Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi goes to Mashiach and he says to him, no, when are you coming? And Mashiach says to him, today. I'm sure Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi was probably very shocked. It's like, why? I happen to come on the same day that he's about to come? Great, okay. Goes back home, and lo and behold, the day passes, doesn't come. Another day passes. And next time he bumps into Eliyahu Hanavi, if you look at the last two lines of the Gemara, Amar Le, towards the end. No, I'm sorry. The last line, the very last line. Amar Le. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says to Eliyahu Hanavi, Shakuri ka shakar bi. He lied to me. He lied to me. De Amar li hayom atila. He said, I'm coming today. And that day already passed and he didn't come. Velo ata, he didn't come. Amar le, Eliyahu said to him, you misunderstood. Hachi amar lecha. This is what he was saying to you. Hayom Im bekolo tishmo. Today, if you hearken to my voice. It's a pasuk we say in Kabbalat Shabbat on every Friday night. It's a pasuk in Tehillim. Hayom im bekolo tishmo. What Mashiach was saying was, I'm ready. I'm ready to come. It's just up to you people. You have to do tshuva. If you do tshuva, then I'm going to come. Again, I'll come earlier, and I'll come in a miraculous way, and it'll be less painful. It's all up to you. So, obviously, the number one most important thing that we could do to bring Mashiach is to improve our ways in any way possible. You know, only the person himself or herself knows how they need to improve. And it's important to take small steps. No one is saying that overnight you have to become the biggest tzaddik in the world. But everyone has to work on themselves. Don't be complacent with the level you're at this point in your life. You should always be growing. A person should always constantly be growing and improving and trying to work on themselves. So that's obvious, and especially if you do that with the mindset, you're saying to God, listen, this is hard for me. It's very difficult for me to do this particular thing that you want me to do, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it so that you can bring Mashiach. I'm doing it for the sake of Shuvah, that Hayom Mikolot Tishmo, that Mashiach should come today as soon as possible. So that's, of course, the first and probably most important thing that we could do to bring Mashiach. Turn the page. The next important category of things to do for Mashiach to come is, of course, tefillah, davening for it. We should be davening as much as we can for the coming of Mashiach. How do we know that this will bring Mashiach? So there's many sources, but I'll give you just a few right over here. In the Chumash, the first redemption, Shemot, Perek Bet, source number 6. Vayihi bayamim harabim hahem, vayamot melech Mitzrayim, the king of Egypt died. Vayayanchu b'nei Yisrael min avodah, and the Jewish people were groaning because of the avodah. It was so difficult. Vayiz'aku, and they cried out. Vatal shavatam el Elokim, and their cries, their prayers went up to God. Min ha'avodah, because of the servitude. Vayishma Elokim et nakatam, God heard their prayers. Vayizkor Elokim et brito et Avraham et Yitzchak et Yaakov. And on that pasuk, Rabbeinu Vachaye says, to the left, Ki alfo pi she'egia ha'ketz, even though the time had come, don't forget, Hashem told Avraham Avinu, your children are going to be gerim, right? Arba me'ot shana, right? Ger yez aracha ve'eretz olehem. Arba me'ot shana, 400 years is a set time. That time already came. Still, kvar lo hayu ru'im legula, but they weren't deserving. They didn't have anything that would allow HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring the gula. They didn't deserve it. Ela merov shetza'aku el Hashem, because of their great prayers to God. Min avodah kibel tfilatam. That's what brought the gula, because they davened, because they cried out to Hashem. That's what Hashem wanted to hear. And we also see that in the Midrash in source number 7. V'lo odel b'sha'ashet tzoakim Yisrael lefanav tavo lem tshua. The salvation will come when the Jews cry out to God. And it shows that that's what happened in the sneh, kach b'sneh, the burning bush. What does it say? Shenemar, hinei tzakat b'nei Yisrael ba'ilai. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, I'm coming to you, I'm revealing myself to you because I heard the cries of Am Yisrael. V'chein b'Gideon. And we find the same thing by Gideon. Vayavo malach Hashem, Vayirai la malach Hashem, Vayomer lech b'chochacha zeh v'oshatat Yisrael. And there also was the tefillos of Am Yisrael that Hashem chose Gideon to save the Jewish people. So, tefillah. And it's very important for me to point out, it doesn't mean you have to do anything fancy. You don't have to have special prayer, let's get together and have a special tehillim to pray that Mashiach should come and the temple should be rebuilt. There are so many tefillot. So much of our tefillah is about Geulah. If you just think about it, just go through Shemona Esrei, go through the different parts of tefillah, you'll see that there's so much already in our tefillot that are about Geulah, that are about redemption. All we have to do is concentrate on those paragraphs. We have For example, right, Takavish Shofar Gedol Cherutenu. That's about Kibbutz Galiot. V'li Yerushalayim Yerchal B'Rachamim Tashuv. Or Etzem Achbirah V'Chamerat Tatzmiach. V'techazena Einenu B'Shuvcha L'Tzion B'Rachamim. Aleinu is all about Geula. And my personal favorite, Kavanah is a difficult thing. Right? Having Kavanah during davening is very difficult. The Gemara already says it. They already understood that. And I'm not claiming that I have a lot of Kavanah, but there's one thing every single week, one small little prayer that I don't know what it is, but I never fail to have Kavanah. And that is a Shacharit, Shabbat morning. Mimkomcha Malkeinu Tofiyah. It's my favorite tefillah the whole week. Mimkomcha Malkeinu Tofiyah. Ki machakim anachnu ma'vizeh Hashem Baruch Hu. We're waiting for you. Please, bring the Geulah. So have Kavanah during these tefillot. And again, you don't have to make special prayer groups. Just have Kavanah and really, really mean what you're saying. Takavish Shofar Gedol Cherutenu. But seemingly, there's a contradiction. There's a problem with this. We said that tefillah is one of the ways to bring Geulah. There's a Gemara in Ketuvot, it's here on the sheet, source number 8, where it talks about the famous 3 oaths, which I'm not going to get into. That's a shir in of itself. But based on a pasuk that repeats itself 3 times in Shir HaShirim, Hishbati Elchem B'no Yerushalayim, B'tzivot, or Vayalot HaSadeh, etc. Based on that pasuk, the Gemara learns that there's 6 oaths, 6 vows that God made the Jewish people take, and one of them is that we're not allowed to come back to Eretz Yisrael forcibly. We have to wait until Mashiach comes. But one of them is, as you see here in source number 8, underlined, V'shalo yirchaku et haketz. That God told us we're not going to push off, we're not going to delay the ketz. Ketz means the end, meaning the coming of Mashiach. So what does that mean exactly? So Rashi says, to the left of the source, V'shalo yirchaku et haketz ba'avonam. It says it means through their sins. In other words, besides the fact that sinning is bad, it goes against the Torah, but it also delays Mashiach, like we spoke about before. If we do tshuva, Mashiach will come. So it's also the opposite. If we do more sins, so we're pushing off Mashiach. So that's one shot Rashi gives. But then Rashi says as follows. Lishnakli, Lamed Aleph, means another version. Shelo yid chukru et haketz. It's not a resh, it's a dalid. They shouldn't push the ketz. They shouldn't push for the ketz, for the end, too much. Rashi says, Garsina, that's the girsa, Lashon docha, shelo yarbu b'tachanunim al kach yoter midai. Shouldn't pray for it too much. That goes against what we're saying. We just said you have to pray for Mashiach. It's one of the ways to bring Mashiach. But here this Gemara seems to say that you're not allowed to do it too much. So what does that mean? Or how do we reconcile this? So there's several answers. One of them is the Chatam Sofer. It's actually quoted in Erevin Smecha, one of the books that I have here for sale, that I had the schus to translate. Maybe I'll just give a quick little blurb on Erevin Smecha. Rabbi Yisachar Shlomo Teichtal was one of the Gedolei Hador in Europe before the Holocaust. Literally one of the Gedolei Hador. He knew Kol Torah Kula at his fingertips. It's unbelievable. And he was also very anti-Zionistic. He was against the whole movement to come back to Eretz Yisrael. And then the Holocaust began. And he started, while hiding from the Nazis, he started rethinking his position. And the result of this introspection is a book that is the most important sefer on the topic of Eretz Yisrael to this day, and I don't think it will ever change. Called Erevin Smecha, written while running from the Nazis, basically saying that we made a mistake, we shouldn't have been against the whole Zionist movement, we should have taken part in it, and we should come back to Eretz Yisrael, and that's why this tragedy is happening to us, etc. So one of the things he brings here is the Chatam Sofer. The Chatam Sofer says that when Rashi says that you shouldn't pray too much for it, it doesn't mean what we call prayer. You could pray, cry your eyes out all day and all night for Mashiach to come. What it means is that you shouldn't do unconventional things in your prayer in order to bring Mashiach. For example, there was this character in Jewish history, one of these false messiahs, whose name was Yosef Dilarayna. And Yosef Dilarayna tried to bring Mashiach by using practical Kabbalah, special like Shemot HaKadoshim, holy names of God, and different, stuff like that, which I don't understand anything about, in order to bring Mashiach. He says, that's what Rashi means. That's called Yoter Midah. That's called too much. That's going overboard. To do things that are not conventional. Davening, having Kabbalah in Eretz Tzemach David Avdacham Eretz Hatzmiach, that's not unconventional. That's the way it should be. We should daven all day and all night for Mashiach to come. Just don't do things that are weird, that are out of the box. That's what we don't do. Another answer is given by Rav Hillel Mikolamaya. He was one of the Cholavei Tzion, one of the big Gedolim in Europe in the 1800s who pushed for us to come back to Eretz Yisrael with people like Rav Tzvi Hirsch Kalisher and others. And he writes about this Rashi, he says, even if we interpret Rashi like it seems that is a problem davening too much for Geula, le'et ata, it's not on your sheets, at this point, nishtana hazman, things have changed. V'lo levad shemutar la'abo b'tachanun, not only are you allowed to daven a lot for it, ela gam mitzvah likro el Hashem b'chazka sheyimaher l'galmeinu. It's actually a mitzvah to daven more for it. What does he mean? He means things have changed, times have changed. Maybe at one point, maybe during when this Gemara was written, maybe Be'emet, it was a problem to daven for it, too much. But nowadays, when we're in the 1800s and things are starting and we're getting closer to the Geula, now is when we have to pray for it. And to illustrate this, I'll tell you another thing that's found in Evanim Smecha. It's a very, very powerful story. The Malbim, you all know the Malbim, right? Wrote one of the most fundamental Perushim on the Tanakh. So he also wrote a Perush on Sefer Daniel. It's part of Tanakh, right? Sefer Daniel has all of the secrets of when Mashiach is coming. It's very cryptic, very difficult to understand. But if you really understand it well, you could figure out when Mashiach is going to come based on Psukim in Daniel. And the Malbim, in his Perush on Daniel, gave a prediction when he thinks, based on the Psukim, when Mashiach is going to come. So after it came out in print, people, big Gedolei Yisrael, wrote him letters and said, how could you do this? It goes against an explicit Gemara that says, Tipach atzmam shel mechashvei kitzim. Let the bones of those who try to calculate the end of day, let them blow up, let them explode. Meaning, you're cursed. You should not be doing such a thing. How could you go against an explicit Gemara? So the Malbim answered all these letters in one public manifesto that he put out, and he told the following story. He said, this is why I did it. He said, there was somebody in my community who had a son who was getting bar mitzvah. And his son did such a beautiful job on his bar mitzvah, on his laning, and his Dvar Torah, etc., that he wanted to do something very special for him. So he said to his son, this man was a big businessman, and he said, listen, I'm going on a big business trip to Leipzig in Germany, right, a big city with a marketplace. I'm going there, and I'm going to take you with me on my trip. You know, the son, this bar mitzvah kid, is going to get to go with his Abba, with his father on a big trip. So he was all excited. And for days and days before the trip, they were busy with preparations. The mother was preparing meals and clothing, packing them up like everyone's probably doing now with their kids to, for camp. Getting them all packed, ready to go. And on the day of the trip, the mother was beside herself. She was so sad to see them go. She was crying and, a tearful goodbye and hugs and kisses, etc., etc. And they finally went on their journey. About 2 hours into the trip, the son turns to the father and says, Dad, are we almost there? That's the way things go. The father turned around and looked at his son with the meanest, angriest look he's ever given. And the son understood, obviously I said something wrong. I don't know what I said wrong, but I'm not asking that question anymore. And he just was silent. A few days went by. A week went by. 2 weeks went by, and they're on their way, and all of a sudden the father turns to the wagon driver and says, "Yankel, are we almost there?" And now the son is totally confused. He says, "Dad, I don't understand. Almost 2 weeks ago, I asked this question. You looked at me as if I did the worst thing in the world. And now you're asking the same question." So the father said, "My son, you don't understand. You saw how much preparation went into this trip. All the food that your mother prepared, and you also saw how upset she was when we were leaving, how she was crying her eyes out. Did you really think we were going on a 4 hour journey? That after 2 hours you already asked, are we there yet? It was obvious that it was going to be a long journey. And therefore it was inappropriate to ask that question right away. But now we've been traveling for 2 weeks already. We're almost there. Now it's okay to ask, are we almost there?" Said the Malvin, the same thing is true. When Chazal saw how the Nevi'im, how they cried over the Geula, over the Galut, that there was going to be such a long and arduous and painful exile, thousands and thousands of years. So they said, don't ask, don't try to figure out when Mashiach's going to come. Because if you're going to do it, you imagine 2,000 years ago, somebody does all the calculations and says it's happening in 2015. You say, what? Well, they probably use the Hebrew date. 5775, right? Forget it. What's it worth to live? For 2,000 years, they wouldn't have been able to handle it. They wouldn't have been able to wait so long. They would have given up hope. So Chazal said, don't try to figure it out. It's not Kedai. But now, says the Malbim, now we're at the end of days. There's not much more time to go. And therefore now it's a mitzvah you should ask about. You should try to figure out when it's coming. And that's exactly what Rav Hillel Mikalamaya is saying. When Chazal said, again, assuming that this Rashi is correct, that you shouldn't daven too much for it, that was then. Yes, if you're davening too much for it, put all your kochot, all your strengths into davening for Mashiach 2,000 years before it's going to come, so you should daven for it, but don't go overboard, because it's just going to give you a heartache. But nowadays, says Rav Hillel Mikalamaya, in the middle 1800s, now we're at the end, now it's time. Now this is when we have to daven for it. And more, how much more so can we, in our day and age, 150 years later, when so much has happened, now is the time for it to happen. It's like a woman in labor. And now is when, we got to get to that, over the hill. We just have to, that last push, we have to get the Geula into this world. That's when we need the prayers. But with all this said and done, there's one more thing that we can do to bring the Mashiach and to bring the rebuilding of the temple. And that is the last category here on the second sheet, Tzipiyah Yeshua. To await Mashiach's arrival, to yearn for it, to want it really, really badly. And there are many, many sources that indicate this. We'll just take the first one, source number 10. Rabbi Moshe Lichtman, maybe there's no hope. Maybe the Jews will never come back. Amar lehem, Hashem said back to Moshe and the Jewish people, Al tomu kach, don't say such a thing. Yesh dor shehu mitzapeh lemalchuto, if there's a generation that expects, that awaits Mashiach's coming, miyad heim nigalim, they will be redeemed immediately. It's the tzipiyah. If Hashem sees that we want it, that's when He's going to bring it. There's a beautiful story about the Chavetz Chaim. He said that, just getting the name correct here, Rav Yosef Duber, which I think might be the Beis Halevi, if I'm not mistaken. He basically retired. He was a Rav in Slutsk, and then he went to Vilna to just spend the rest of his life learning. And the community in Brisk needed a Rav, and they desperately were trying to get Rav Yosef Duber to become the Rav. So they sent him a nice letter and a whole entourage, would you please accept the Rabbanut, to be the rabbi of our community. And he said, no, thank you. I really want to just sit. I want to retire and sit and learn, and I don't want to be involved in Rabbanut anymore. So they decided to send another group, and more chashuv people, right, like Balak. And they said to these messengers, they said, this time, when he refuses, we want you to say the following. There are 30,000 Jews in Brisk waiting for you to come and be their Rav. And they came, and they offered him again the position, and he again refused, and they said, there's 30,000 Jews waiting for you. He said, if there's 30,000 Jews waiting for me, I can't refuse. I can't refuse, and he put on his kapata, and he told his attendant, he said, get my stuff ready, we have to go to Brisk, and I have to take on this position. Said the Chafetz Chaim, if Rabbi Yosef Duber couldn't refuse 30,000 Jews who are waiting for him, don't you think Mashiach is going to say the same thing? If millions of Jews are saying, we need you, we're waiting for you, we can't live without you, so then he's going to be forced to just say, okay, I have to come. If they really want me that badly, I have to come. That's what CPL Yeshua, that's the power of CPL Yeshua. When Hashem and Mashiach see how badly we want it, then he's going to come. And CPL Yeshua, awaiting for the redemption, is part and parcel of the belief in coming of Mashiach. Think about it. We say it in davening, right? Bring Mashiach. Why? Because we've been waiting for it. Every day, all day, we await his arrival. What we're basically saying is that why should you bring Mashiach? For no other reason than because we're waiting for it. And there are so many different ideas, as the time is getting short, that we should be waiting for Mashiach to come, and that's really what's going to bring it. But it goes a little bit further. If you look at source number 12, the Kuzari. Somebody who tries to encourage people to love the Holy Land, he certainly is deserving of a lot of reward. And by doing such, by making people yearn to be in Eretz Yisrael and for Gula, he is bringing the Gula closer. As it says, Ata takum terachim tzion. Well, everyone knows this because of the song, right? Ata takum terachim tzion, right? Shlomo Kalbach. You get up and have pity and mercy on Zion. Ki eit lechanana ki ba'moed. The time has come to favor her, to desire her. But no, people don't know the rest of it because it's not part of the song. The rest of it is Ki ratzu avadecha et avanea, because your servants have desired her stones, and they favor her dust. That's what's going to bring Geulah. Zot omeret, now the Kuzari ends with a very famous statement, Yerushalayim lo tibaneh ki im kasher yishtokaku aleh b'nei Yisrael tachlitat shuka. Jerusalem will be rebuilt when the Jewish people desire it to the utmost. Ad asher yechonenu et avanea v'et afara. And this brings out the idea that when we say CPL Yeshua, you know that the Gemara in Shabbat says that's one of the 6 things that you're asked when you go up to heaven. One of the first things asked, CPL Yeshua, did you await coming Mashiach? So the question is, what does that mean? So you'll say, yeah, of course, I couldn't wait till Mashiach comes. It reminds me of a very, I don't want to say funny, I don't even want to call it a joke because it's so sad. But I just read it recently. At the end of the Seder, start, the last part of the Seder, near Tzah, and they start singing L'Shana Haba Yerushalayim Abnuyah, and the mother of the house, the housewife, she starts crying. And her husband says to her, what's the matter? Why are you crying, my dear? Did something go wrong? The Seder was such a beautiful Seder. She says, no, I don't really want to be in Yerushalayim next year. I like where I live. I'm happy here. It makes me sad. So the husband says, don't worry, it's just a song. It's funny, but it's sad. It's so sad. See, Piyah Yeshua is not about saying the words. It's not about, I really hope Mashiach will come one day. It's about doing something about it. The way to really show Hashem that you really are looking forward to the coming of Mashiach is to do something about it. So for thousands of years, there was very little we could do about it. We could really only daven for it, and maybe you learn about it, like the Chavetz Chaim did, right? He wrote a whole sefer on Kodshim, all the halachot that have to do with korbanot. That was his way of showing, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm making sure to, that we'll know how to do the halachot, how to do the mitzvot when the time comes. But we're living at a time where we could really do something about it. Because, let's face it, as the Kuzari just said, the way to really bring Geula is to accept Geula, is to accept when it's happening, and to show Hashem not just through words, not just through lip service, but to show Hashem how much we really desire it. That means picking up and going to the land that He has given us, that He's given us again. And it's such a fundamental part of the coming of Mashiach, of this tzipiyah, that the Rambam, in source number 13, this is unbelievable Rambam. The Rambam talks about Melech HaMashiach, and he says, let's skip the first part, just go to the underline. V'chol mi she'eno ma'amin bo. Anybody who doesn't believe in him, o mi she'eno mechaker lebiyato, or someone who doesn't await his arrival, lo b'shar nevi'im bilvad hu kofer. He's not just denying. This is one of the 13 principles of faith according to the Rambam. Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema b'viyat HaMashiach. And then when we say v'af al pi she'yitma'ameh im kol zeh achar kol b'chol yisrael, think about it. Go to the other 12 ani ma'amin. Is there any such thing as, God is the only true God? I believe that God is and even though there are some people who deny it, I believe in it. We don't have that. Only by Mashiach. Even though He is taking His time, because it's part of the belief in Mashiach, is to wait for Him. And says the Rambam, if you don't believe in Mashiach, forget about the fact that you're kofer b'neviim, that you're denying the words of so many different neviim. Ela b'Torah u'v'Moshe Rabbeinu. You are denying the Torah and Moshe Rabbeinu. People think, this whole concept of Mashiach, it's written in the neviim. It's not anywhere in the Torah. It's not anywhere in the Torah. Have you ever read Parshat Nitzavim? The Rambam brings one very simple pasuk. Sharei Torah he'ida alav. The Torah testified about Him, Mashiach, in the following pasuk. She'amar, V'shav Hashem Elokecha et shvutcha v'yichamecha. God will return your captivity and have pity on you. V'shav v'kibetzcha mikol ha'amim, and He will gather you in from all the nations. Does that sound familiar to you? Where are those psukim from? When did we say that? The Shalom Medina. I don't know what kind of shuls you go to. I don't know if they say it or not. But if you go to a shul where they say this Tefillah Shalom Medina, those are the psukim that are quoted. That's the Rambam's example of the fact that the Torah testifies about Mashiach. And what do those psukim talk about? Does it talk about a man called Mashiach? It says one thing: kibbutz galuyot. There's going to be an ingathering of the exiles. The Jews are going to be exiled because of their sins, and they're going to come back. And that is the greatest source in the Torah about Mashiach. And that's happened in our days. The Jewish people have returned to Eretz Yisrael. In the last 70 years, approximately, we're already at the point where it's certainly the biggest Jewish community in the world. Almost and probably already more than half the Jewish people live in Eretz Yisrael. Realize it. We are living through Geula. The main aspect of Geula, of redemption, is kibbutz galuyot. Of course, we're all waiting for the spiritual redemption. But there first has to be a physical redemption. The physical redemption is the return of Am Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael. That has happened. Is happening. It's happened on a large scale. You see, we're all born in a world, most of us were born into the world where there is a Medina, there's a Jewish state, Jews live in Eretz Yisrael, but just think about 100 years ago, that didn't exist. And we're living at a time where Jews are back. So what does it mean, Tzipita Yeshua in our day and age? Does it mean sitting and again saying with tremendous kavana? Yes, but to a certain degree, it's not enough, because we have the opportunity to actually get up and pick up and go there.
And that would be the ultimate way of showing Hashem that we really do mitzvah Pel Yeshua. So much so that we're willing to and waiting to go there. And the first opportunity we have, we're going to pick up and go. I want to show you a little bit about, it's already time's up. Do I have to stop? Okay, good, because this is the best part. Everything was just an introduction to this. There's two sources about the Chavetz Chaim, two stories about the Chavetz Chaim, and then I'm just going to do one last thing and we're finished. Everyone knows that the Chavetz Chaim, this famous story, he had his bags packed, right? A special suitcase for Mashiach, right? So that's real CPL Yeshua. But what people don't realize is, that's very cute, that's very nice, but that's not all the Chavetz Chaim did to await Mashiach's arrival. He also believed that we should come back to Eretz Yisrael. And I'll show you these two sources, they're mind-boggling. Source number 14 and 15. There's a sefer called Michtavei Chavetz Chaim. His son, Ari Leib, wrote this book based on letters that he received from his father and conversations that he had with his father. So one of them is as follows. Bizchurani, I remember. Ki b'shnat, I won't read it inside. I'll tell you outside. But it's here. You can read it. You know Hebrew, you'll read it and you'll see I'm not lying. The Chavetz Chaim, what happened was in the 1890s, 1890, 1891, there was Jews were being kicked out of Moscow, and they started, there was the beginning of a movement to come to Eretz Yisrael. Instead of going somewhere else, they said, what are we doing? Why don't we just go to Israel, or Palestine at the time? And he says, by the hundreds and thousands, Jews started going back to Eretz Yisrael. At that time, I got a letter from my father, says his son, in which he brings to my attention this fact that, wow, Jews are being kicked out of their homes and they're going to Eretz Yisrael. Unbelievable. And he believes, the underline, the second to last line, Mishaer, he assumes, Ki hayamim yemei ikva de Mashiach, that this is, we're living through the footsteps of Mashiach. And that Hashem has remembered his nation. Ve'efshar, says the Chavetz Chaim, it's possible, who itchalta the kibbutz galiyot, that this is the beginning of the ingathering of the exiles, shehu kodem b'yat Mashiach, which is before the coming of Mashiach. When hundreds and thousands of Jews started moving to Eretz Yisrael, the Chavetz Chaim said, "Whoa, this is the beginning, possibly the beginning of kibbutz galiyot." Does anybody have a doubt in their mind that in our day and age when the Chavetz Chaim was living, he'd say, this is not the beginning, this is kibbutz galiyot. Half the Jewish people already returned to Eretz Yisrael. Millions, no longer hundreds, not thousands, not even tens of thousands, not even hundreds of thousands. Millions of Jews have returned to Eretz Yisrael. You think he would say the word Efshar? It's possible this is kibbutz galiyot? This is 100% kibbutz galiyot. And so what? The last line, Vim hayinu b'yacholin, if it was possible, hayamina ra'ui, it would be properly knot karka, to buy land, v'ramalot la'aretz. Chavetz Chaim didn't say, okay, that's why I have my backpack, I'm ready. When Mashiach comes, I'm going to take my suitcase and go with him. No. We should pick up and buy land and go to Eretz Yisrael. And on another occasion, elsewhere in the same book, the Chavetz Chaim, his son, says that, look at the second line, Umar Abba Abatzmo Hitgagea Kol Yamav Linsoa. His whole life he wanted to go to Eretz Yisrael. Vikvar Yamuchan Linsoa, he was actually ready to go. Vishalach Kvar Tzfarav Kol Klei Beito. I don't know if people know this. He actually sent a lift. He already sent a lift, a boat with his stuff. He was ready to go. But unfortunately, Min HaShamayim Bikvu, he was stopped. He believed it was Min HaShamayim, just like the Grut tried to go to Eretz Yisrael, and he was stopped. He wasn't able to make it, and the Baal Shem told this story that he also wanted to go, and then he was stopped. All right, for whatever reason, God said it wasn't time yet. And then he tells a very interesting story. He says, I, the son of the Chavetz Chaim, I once was on a trip somewhere else, and I decided, for no apparent reason, just to take a little detour and go to Eretz Yisrael. The way he says is beautiful. He says, to see the land that we daven about and we talk about day and night in our prayers everywhere throughout our day. And he said, but I decided not to tell my father because I was afraid that he would yell at me for spending so much money to go to Eretz Yisrael. Okay. Why? When I actually arrived in Israel, I sent him a telegram and I told him that I was here. And then he says, look at the very last line, Ukishavati b'chazara, when I came back, meaning to Russia, ubikarti et avi, and I visited my father. Amarni, he said, he skalta aso, you did foolishly. Im hayita sham kvar, if you were already there, hayalach mishtaker sham. Why'd you go back? I understand. That's CPL Yeshua. The Chavetz Chaim CPL Yeshua was moved to Israel if you can. And in his days it was difficult. In our days it's not as difficult. And I want to end with the following. There's a book written by a very, very well-known rabbi. I want to show you a contrast here. A contrast to what we just saw in Chavetz Chaim. Okay? And I think it's part of the problem. I don't think that it's Lashon Hara if I don't tell you who wrote this book. Because if someone publishes something in a book, like if someone would give a speech and say, oh, this Rabbi Lichtman, what a joker, like, he writes this in his book, and he makes fun of it, okay. I mean, the fact that he makes fun of it might not be nice, but the fact that he quoted something that I said in my name, I wrote it in the book. Obviously, I believe what I wrote in my books. And this rabbi wrote in the book, it's published, but nonetheless, even though I don't think it's a problem with Lashon Hara, I am not going to say who wrote it. But trust me, it's somebody, if I said his name, you all know him, you've all heard of him, and he has thousands of shiurim that he's given, and he's a very well-known chashuv rav. He writes as follows: Flatbush, Borough Park, Williamsburg, Crown Heights, Brooklyn is the place to be. And though this is in a book by a big rabbi. And although others may argue with me, at least he admits that this is not everybody's opinion, I see no advantage in sending your children to Israel. Let them get married and stay in America. Why must parents spend thousands of dollars to be able to see their grandchildren and children? There is no nachas from an overseas postcard or from photographs. Stay here in Brooklyn so your parents can see you. And then he says, wait for Mashiach to come. Then it will be all right to go to Eretz Yisrael. That's I can't. I don't think it's proper. I'm not going to tell you. But it goes up. It goes up. There was a father who was having a machlokes with his son-in-law, and it reached a point that he was to take him to a din Torah. The son-in-law went and picked up his family and left for Eretz Yisrael. What a tragedy. I can't even say those words. He says, what a tragedy. Now the only way he could see his children and his grandchildren is to spend thousands of dollars on airfare. Therefore I say, make a bris, a covenant with your son-in-law to be that he will promise to keep the family in America. I'm sorry, this is the opposite of Tzivita Yeshua. This is the opposite of what we see in the Chavetz Chaim, many, all of them. There's no such thing as a Gadol Yisrael who didn't encourage Jews to move to Eretz Yisrael. Everyone understands. It doesn't mean that every situation, everyone should move, and there's a lot of complicated issues. But to not push it, to not say that it's something that's a goal, we should all be striving for it. And the opposite of that, again, I'm talking now more contemporary people. So I once got a letter from somebody who was very affected by my books, especially Rabbi Smecha. And he's actually interesting. He says he comes from a typical black hat background, although, as he says, he's a convert. He converted to Judaism, he converted and he went straight into a black hat community. And he says as follows: the belief system in which I was taught simply presented itself in a way that excluded the land of Israel and the importance of the state in an offhanded and condescending manner. The strategy in retrospect seems to have been that if their position was presented as the unquestionable truth without potential for debate, and implied that Zionist motivations were not a serious approach to Torah life, it would achieve its objectives of closing the mind of the listener to investigation, especially when speaking to the mind of a Ger Tzedek, whose only motivation was to be close to Hashem. And he's saying the moment the fact that so much of his life he didn't realize the importance of Eretz Yisrael. And he got my books, and other things happened in his life, and he became a very big lover of Eretz Yisrael. He desperately wants to come to Eretz Yisrael, but that's not the part I want to share with you. He then says, also you should know, this is a letter he wrote me thanking me for the books, and he said, you should know that I met Reb Chaim Kanievsky while I was in Jerusalem. You know what Reb Chaim Kanievsky is? One of the Gedolei Hador. I told him that I have a problem with my house in blank. I won't tell you where he's from, okay? A community in the diaspora. He said to me that my house should be in Jerusalem. I said, when? And he answered, now, as soon as you can. I asked why? And he said that Mashiach is coming and you have to be in Eretz Yisrael for him. I asked, how to tell my wife and children this? He said, explain to them about Mashiach. You must come and be here for him, he said. Be here for his sake. Start. And that's really my message to you. That's a true Gadol Yisrael, right? Someone who understands that Eretz Yisrael is where we belong. And he's not Zionistic, Rabbi Kanievsky is not. Doesn't say Hal Yom Ha'atzmaut, okay? But Eretz Yisrael, there's no question, it's such an important, integral part of our religion. I wrote a whole book called Eretz Yisrael Parsha, which shows how it is one of the most central themes in the entire Torah. And we have to put it this way, we have to put it on the agenda. We have to make sure, I'm not saying that everyone has to, right now, get up and, take their passports and book a flight to Israel, sell their houses. I mean, that would be great, but I don't think it's practical. But it has to be on the agenda. We have to understand that this is where we're up to right now. We're at the stage of Geulah, of redemption, that all it needs is that extra push. We need more Jews to show how important it is for them to be in Eretz Yisrael, how much they want Geulah. Geulah is going to happen in Eretz Yisrael and not here. And therefore, this is my message to you. However we can, we should be working on bringing the Geulah in any way we can. And let us hope that we will all be zocheh to see the coming of Mashiach, so that we won't leave this world and have to say that we also destroyed the temple. Thank you for your time.